This interpretation also explains many other details in the film. In this moonbus landing sequence, the pilots observe a graphical display that imitates the explosion of realization that we will later see in the Stargate itself. And in the centre of the display, a 90-degree tilted monolith rectangle slides in and aligns in the centre, causing the whole display to flash. The shot then cuts to a guy watching the same display below a window, which might well represent us watching the movie. Here in the excavation scene, the astronauts line up for a photo shoot as the photographer is seen tilting his camera 90 degrees between shots. Incidentally, Kubrick was a photographer too, in his early career, and in this scene he personally took control of the handheld camera and encoded an incredibly subtle and clever clue. He timed this shot so that a rectangular lens flare floats in and aligns with its own light source at the precise moment that the monolith gives off its ear-piercing signal. Here's another excellent clue. In the mysterious bedroom at the end of the film, there is no doorway, no way out. The astronaut is trapped. But when he reaches out to the monolith, which is positioned like a doorway, the camera switches to a position outside the room itself. This is the only shot in the whole film where the fourth wall is broken in this way. Bowman's realization that the monolith is a cinema screen and his resulting awareness that he is in a movie allows him to exit the confines of the bedroom. TV and cinema screens show us the illusion of depth, but when we physically touch them, like the apes and astronauts do, they are revealed to be flat, two-dimensional surfaces. So as Bowman reaches out in this shot, the monolith isn't 10 feet away, it's actually within his arm's reach. In the briefing scene, the walls feature white monolith-shaped display screens flanked by curtains, just like cinema screens, and the room is entered and exited through a monolith doorway. Dr. Floyd and his colleague even gesture with their hands that we should rotate the monolith 90 degrees. The film also begins with a stretch of music played over a black screen, and after the credits have finished at the end of the film, the music carries on playing again over a plain black screen. And the film is full of many other visual hints. A floating rectangular dinner tray that imitates the floating monolith. A set of toilet instructions featured inside the monolith. Rotating pens and docking bays, and another pilot display that again shows a rotating monolith. The clues were staring at us all along. So there you have it, the monolith represents the film screen itself. Now over the years very few people have made an effort to debunk this interpretation, but those that have usually said that they don't think the monolith precisely fits the dimensions of the wide-frame cinema screen. My answer is that it doesn't have to. It's a metaphor, and metaphors are not exact reproductions. For example, it's well known that the lead character in Citizen Kane represents media tycoon William Randolph Hearst, even though Orson Welles doesn't physically look like him. However, the monolith dimensions are so close to that of the wide-frame Cinerama screen in which 2001 was shot that if there is a difference, it's not noticeable to the naked eye. The odds of this occurring accidentally are extremely remote. 2001 was also transferred to 35mm for a general release, a slightly different dimension to Cinerama, and later again it was released in television broadcasts and on VHS and DVD formats. So it's impossible for the monolith to always match the display dimensions of whatever screen the film is being viewed on. And remember that Kubrick described the monolith as an advanced television teaching machine at a time when TV screens had roughly a 4:3 ratio and were neither flat-screened nor straight-edged. The Cinerama screen on which the film was first shown was also curved, yet the monolith isn't. But that doesn't disprove the screen metaphor either. I've also heard the argument that you can find incidental monolith shapes all over the place in any sci-fi movie, but if you actually go and watch Star Wars, Alien, or any other sci-fi classics, you'll generally find that it's not the case. There are nowhere near as many monolith shapes in the sets as there are in 2001: A Space Odyssey. I mean, look at this. The astronauts are watching TV broadcasts on monolith-shaped screens. The only way it could be more blatant would be for Kubrick to come right out and say it verbally. And the last argument which I've heard against the general idea that a filmmaker can encode hidden messages in their films is that the cast and crew would have known about it and talked about it in interviews. Not so. Ed Newmeyer, the writer of RoboCop and Starship Troopers, has openly admitted that he and director Paul Verhoeven put hidden themes and details in Starship Troopers, and intentionally didn't tell anyone about it. Check out my Starship Troopers analysis video for more. And 10 years after the release of E.T., Spielberg started admitting in interviews that his film was actually about family breakup trauma. Kubrick wasn't the only one capable of encoding hidden themes and messages. Others have done it too, including David Lynch, Alfred Hitchcock, and the Coen brothers. Looking at Kubrick's larger filmography, he also claimed in an interview about his later film Full Metal Jacket that he accidentally placed a monolith in this scene in the form of a burning building, and that if viewers looked elsewhere in the scene, they'd likely find other accidental parallels with 2001. So I had a look, and yes, the clues were there. Notice the wooden door prop on the left. It starts out higher up on the building and makes its way down to the ground when we see the burning monolith. It also contains 7 diamonds, just as we saw 7 diamonds in this shot in 2001: A Space Odyssey, and in this shot in The Shining. And in an earlier scene of Full Metal Jacket, doorways with the same diamond pattern were present as an entrance to a Vietnamese cinema. There's that metaphor again of a monolith representing a transitionary doorway in and out of the film narrative. So, was the burning monolith really accidental, or was Kubrick just saying that to draw our attention to the details without openly admitting it? I mean, just look at the comparisons with this scene. The burning monolith sits in the middle of a group of soldiers just like the apes of 2001, and one of them dies right beneath it as a lens flare shines over his face. It's very ethereal. When interviewed about Full Metal Jacket, Kubrick even stated that he wanted to, quote, explode the narrative structure of film. And lastly, in the Spielberg film AI, which was mostly designed and conceived by Stanley Kubrick and even storyboarded under his supervision, a hologram character begins as a cosmic display very similar to that in the ending of 2001. It emerges from a curved cinema screen that is flanked by curtains. The robot boy character even tries to crawl into the screen. And look at all the monolith rectangles on the surrounding walls. Is this all accidental? I'll let you judge for yourself. And before I go, just one last detail I'd like to point out in 2001. A lot of people have been asking me what the breaking of the wine glass means. Well, one email correspondent who had seen the film in its proper original Cinerama curved screen format explained that in the version he watched there was an additional detail that he believed was deliberate. As the glass smashed on the floor, the film reel visibly skipped. So I would argue that at this moment, Dave Bowman has literally broken the film's visual code and figured out the meaning of the monolith. Note that his smashing of the glass occurred as he reached out, his hand coming very close to touching the frame of the screen. Dr. Floyd's touching of the monolith can also be considered as a metaphor of touching the screen edge from within the film. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to reach out and touch the like button on your YouTube display before you go. If you want to know more about 2001 and other Kubrick films such as The Shining, Full Metal Jacket, A Clockwork Orange, AI and Dr. Strangelove, then you can learn more from my articles, videos and DVD sets. Visit collativelearning.com for details, and don't forget to subscribe to me on YouTube, Twitter and Facebook for regular updates.